it started off like probably like mid 80s, late 80s maybe.
Okay.
But I don't really consider myself a DJ back then. I was a kid that hung around with DJs. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I couldn't even go out back then. I was like hella young, but my parents always like bought records and shit. You know what I mean? But then it was funny because you know, they bought one turntable and I was just like, you know, playing records and stuff. But actually, real DJing, I mean not professionally, but to call myself a real DJ is probably like early 90s, where I actually had 2 turntables and a mixer.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? But it wasn't professional enough because I still had belt-driven, you know, techniques, SLB 200s and a Marantz, you know what I mean? Turntable and a fucking realistic mixer and shit.
So were you one of the DJs who used to put pennies and dimes on your?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to because, you know, I think I had like a Stanton needle or Audio Technica needle. And fuck, I mean, it was just, you know what I mean? You touch the turntable and it was belt driven. So basically you touch it and the fucking needle will pop back. You're like, what the fuck is this shit? You know what I mean? Like, damn, man, this is jack. But, you know, you figure out ways to actually control the turntable with your hands and stuff.
Yeah.
So
what was the first record you got?
My first record?
Yeah.
Oh man. It was weird because my parents were buying me records.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I was like 8 or 9 when I was actually trying to fucking buy records. But I didn't know what I was buying. It would be all like, you know, it wasn't even singles. It was albums. You know what I mean? I think, damn. I think the real record I actually bought was, I don't know, probably a Rockmaster Scott or a, you know what I mean, Questline or some shit like that. Cause I was hella young, man. 12 inch and shit. We had family friends that actually DJ or DJ crews. You know what I mean? Like they actually, my parents' friends lived like the next block over or whatever. But you know, there was these DJs and you know, like I said, these were already in high school and shit. And I was fucking elementary and shit. And I was barely, you know what I mean? Like I can even barely fucking the DJ booth. I was like, you know, that little kid watching them and shit. And back then it was like, I don't know, like not even high energy. It was probably like, you know, it's like fucking Sylvester or some shit, you know what I mean? Like Miguel Brown type of music, you know what I mean? Like dance music. I just thought it was a trip because, you know, I figured out, okay, well, you know, the turntable there, and you just try to blend it without, you know what I mean, in sync with the music though. But prior to that, to be honest with you, man, like I always had this thing about like audio for some reason. Like I remember my dad had this radio. It was like, I swear to God, man, it was like half a TV, like a small ass screen. And then it was also a cassette on there. And what I would used to do is get my dad's tapes. Cause he would get tapes from the Philippines or like Filipino music, whatever. But I would fucking erase them and shit. Hella bad. Anyway, I'd record like TV shows. Cause you know, seriously, I was probably like 6 or 7, man. And just to play and record and shit. I just trip out on like, oh, you know, TV show and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like fucking Leave It to Beaver or some shit's on or something, you know what I mean? And then, or Benny Hills and shit. And then years passed and I was walking around with this radio. My dad's half TV, half radio type of thing. And I'd record conversations and shit. Like my parents are arguing and shit, I'd record it and play it back for them. Like, what are you doing and shit, you know what I mean? But I always had this thing and then the next thing you know, music be in the background and people are talking and, you know, I just used to trip out on shit like that. And as far as like, you know, music goes, like, I had this thing with music where like, I always have to listen to music. And I was just trying to figure out, you know, what is it in music that I want to do. So, you know, when I met these DJs and shit, I just, like, man, that's cool. I want to be one like you guys and shit, you know what I mean? So, that's...
I mean, how often were you buying records, like, I guess at the height?
At the time, man, like, man, whenever I can get money. If it's on my dad's fucking payday, you know, can you buy me a record, 2 records, you know what I mean? We'll go all the way to fucking Leopold's back then, just buy 2 records and shit, I'll be happy. Or we'll go to the mall, was it fucking Music Land or some shit? Man, Lottie Dottie, I'll be like, fuck you just one record, just go to the mall shopping with my parents, go to the record store, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll come up with a record. My brother's fucking coming up with some toys and shit. And I'll be like, hell yeah, I got vinyl and shit, walking around with fucking bags, his music land or some shit, you know what I mean? And, buying records, man, I would try to at least do, a few a week, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't get heavy until fucking high school and shit, when I was like, fuck, I'm saving money for records and shit, you know what I mean? So, back then it was, I'll try to find ways to at least buy once a week. Like, even one record, I'll be happy, dude, but to be really happy, like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? Like, hell yeah, that came up with 4 records and shit. Like, I don't know if people are gonna get the same feeling like I had, you know what I'm saying, going to the record store. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember going to the record store and not knowing what to buy. But people these days, they'll prepare what they're gonna buy. I'm assuming that, because it's there. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll stumble upon a break. Like, oh man, who's this? Type it up. Okay, I'm gonna go look for this record. You know what I'm saying? It's on my list. Back then, it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? Back then, you just go there and you figure out what you're gonna get, or you have to ask the person at the counter, can I hear this? Or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different now.
Yeah.
Big time.
You call yourself a digger? Are you digging?
I used to dig, but
Why? I mean, were you trying to?
because it was an addiction. It really was addiction. See, but the thing was, I wasn't digging how people are digging these days. People are digging these days premeditated. Like, they know what they're looking for. But when I was buying records, I didn't know what I was looking for. I was just, whoa, look at these guys, and they look scary and shit. What does this sound like?
I know some people may or may not know the whole Insolence thing. Like, how did that come about? I mean, were you just DJing? Somebody saw you someplace?
Nah, you know what happened was, it was just me, a drummer, and a bass player. We were just writing songs or whatever. He came back from Europe, and he goes, hey man, we were already fucking doing shit like months, you know what I mean? And he was like, hey man, I got this other band I want you to check out. But anyway, he was like, hey, go to this thing, we're gonna be jamming that night or whatever. I was like, what is it for? And he was like, oh, my other band. And I went there and I was listening to music. I was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. Like, he was asking me, hey, what you DJ, do some scratches or whatever. But I was like, I asked him, don't you have another DJ? Oh, we gave him the boot or he quit or whatever. I was like, I ain't trying to step on toes, but he was like, whatever, I did it. And we just gelled. Months came, and the next thing you know, we're fucking like brothers and shit, you know what I mean? Like, fucking argue with each other and whatever. But we were writing music together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wrote new songs, redid some of the old songs and made it more modern or made it even, newer. And it was cool because I got to be a part of that.
Okay.
And from there, it just took off.
Tell me about when you met Madonna.
You know what, man? It is the truth, man. I never got to meet her. I never met her. I didn't get a chance to get to meet her. Like, every time we got signed, or maybe every time we do, label shit, she was never around. She owned the label, but she was never there. Like, if we go to the fucking the label in Hollywood, she was never there. It was her partner, Guy Osiri. It ends up being her manager right now. Like, till now, that's her manager. But Guy Osiri was the guy that actually overseen everything. The guy who actually signed it was Dennis Blair, and then Virgil Pierce took over or whatever. But yeah, every time we go to the label, she was never there. Next thing you know, we're on tour for fucking 6 months and shit, or some shit like, oh no, 3 months and then 3 months back out again.
Yeah.
But it was long ass tours. Well, I didn't know what sampling was, but I remember listening to like a Run DMC record, right? And I had the record, and I was playing the record, and I always thought like either rappers had real drummers or they had like a drum machine or something, right? But I remember I played that fucking Run DMC record and it had like a Billy Squire, the big beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, and I played it, and my dad was there or whatever. And I seriously, this is a trip. He had the record, Billy Squire record, and he actually told me, oh, they use this record and shit, and he fucking played it, and I was like, oh fuck, that's crazy and shit. You know what I mean? And you know, they call it needle dropping now, or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have a sampler back then, and I didn't have no technology. The only thing I had was cassette tapes or whatever to record the beat, whatever. But I would like try to fucking repeat the thing on vinyl. Like, what do they call that now? Needle dropping?
Yeah.
I remember I would do that just to loop it. You know what I mean? But my dad was actually the one that told me. You know, like, oh, that's so and so. We have that. You know what I mean? Like, fucking play it. Cause I listen to records with my dad. You know what I mean? Cause you know, yeah. I mean, I used to like just listen to it, whatever. But he's the one that told me. You know, oh, they use this record. And he played it. And from there, I was like, oh, that's sampling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When did you go, okay, I'm gonna do a studio? I mean, you know, you're up here in a StickyLab, dude, so.
Yeah. You know, little by little, I'd buy equipment, but it started in my dad's house and shit in Santa Clara. I was in the garage and I had my DJ equipment and I had fucking like speakers up the ass and shit. I just got tired of playing records all the time, you know what I mean? And I bought a drum machine, like a Boss drum machine, and all it was just drums, and then you just press play and fucking change the BPM, and I would mix that way, you know what I mean? Like I'll make a continuous mix with that beat, whatever. But you know, as I got older, I was just like, fuck man, I want to make my own music, you know what I mean? I bought a 4-track, a Tascam 424, and then you know, Ace R10, and then bought a PC with Cakewalk or some shit. And little by little, oh man, these drums are thin. I had to go buy fucking a reverb. You know, little by little, it just started growing. And then my dad's like, fuck, yeah, hell equipment, dude, what are you doing and shit? And I was like, I don't know, I just gotta make music, whatever. And then he actually helped me build a studio in my living room. And that became a recording studio in there. And it was nothing. It was just a computer or fucking ADATs. And I guess you can consider it as, boom, it became a recording studio. But it was so cheesy because it was at the house, and you know, you try to paint the room and shit. But I remember though, seriously man, like I'm blessed to have the studio. Being a kid, I used to subscribe to Mix Magazine, and I was one of those kids, or yeah, I was a kid back then, cut out pictures of studios and put them on the refrigerator, and I used to tell my parents, I'm gonna get one of these and shit. Like, yeah, you dreaming and shit. You know what I mean? My aunt's like, I'm gonna fucking have one of these. Yeah. Like, good luck, you know what I mean? It's like a fucking $1 million studio and shit. But I used to tell them, I think it's possible to fucking make this shit happen somehow, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And little by little, you know, as time passed, I'm here now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a legit studio. You know, I'm not running no SSL or nothing, but you know, it's an actual real recording studio. You know.
Yeah.
You know, this dude was telling me, he's like, did you know you're in a record with Leanne Rimes? Did you know you're in a record with Stone Temple Pilots? Did you ever cross your mind? And I look back at those records, I'm like, fuck, yeah, I was in the same record with these guys. You know what I mean? Like, I never talked about it though, because I never thought it was a big deal. But, you know, he pointed it out. So, did you know your record was even fucking in a movie, the main song and soundtrack? It didn't dawn, you know, until I was like, man, it actually was something crazy, you know what I mean? Like, actually being in a studio with Rob Trujillo from Metallica and shit, you know what I mean? Like, he was on our first record. You know, just never talked about it with people, you know what I mean? Like, I never said, hey man, fucking Metallica was on my fucking a record and shit. You know, I never tell people that shit, you know, because I didn't think it was, I mean, it is a big deal, but I just never talked about it, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So, you see all these cameras, like, right, you know what I mean? And then fucking, like, you know, in front of us would be like, you know, Ronnie Dangerfield or somebody, or fucking, you know, the dudes from Linkin Park, I don't know, whoever was also on that fucking soundtrack. But as soon as we came out on the red carpet, all the cameras stopped flashing and shit. that was fucking funny, man. But I mean, some people were taking pictures, but you can hear that, you know what I mean? Like, you can hear all that shit. But then when we walk in, like, it stopped and shit. Like, who are these fuckers? Cause you know we look all straggly looking, man. We're like, you know what I mean, like some dirty ass punk looking dudes and shit. That was funny.
Wait, look who's opening for Nirvana.
Right? I just remember that, man. I was like, what the hell just happened here?
So what are you digging right now, dude? I mean, I don't
Pick up, you know, stuff like this, Secret Agent file, vinyl,
right.
and then you know, sometimes I'll come up with some Indian records. You know what I mean? You know, like crazy Polydor, you know, label and shit. I mean, that's what I'm into right now. But here's a story though. So I met this producer, Boogie, and I was like, he would ask me what kind of records you collect and shit. And I'm like, oh man, just you know, sounds, noises, you know what I mean, like electronic sounds or whatever. And this is barely, I just met this dude, you know what I mean. And then dude comes to my studio and says, here, and he gives me this record. I'm like, holy shit. I go, you ain't giving me it. I mean, just take the sounds from there. He's like, no man, have it. So, as far as you ain't got no beats, you ain't got no beats, man. This Paul Horn record, this actual record right here, was from a sample that I used for a Driven soundtrack. It was for Insolence record. It's called Poison Well. Why I'm bringing this up is because I didn't get sued. The band didn't get sued, but we paid for it. That record is that Insolence record is full of samples and sounds, but they actually caught this particular sound, and yeah.
So what, they had Shazam back then, dude? Was that what it was?
I don't know. They had a crew that was actually checking this shit out, and they were just like, yeah, man, it's gonna cost you. I think it was like 10 grand plus publishing or whatever, or I think it's 20 grand or whatever. And my lawyer, the A&R dude, was like, you know, what the fuck, you know what I mean? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, I don't know. We just pay for it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the record company just paid for it. You know, come to find out, Herbie Hancock owned the publishing.
Yeah.
So Herbie, you got paid.
All samples cleared, right?
All samples cleared.
All right.
It's your boy Jerry D, aka the Hermit. You ain't got no beats.